Meeting is now called to order as the Board of Review and Equalization. Are there any items from the public?
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, sir.
gentlemen of the commission and Penny. Just wanted to make a request. I have an issue going on with the county assessor that there's been some office error mistakes. I've tried to make attempts to get exoneration and I have been refused. And there's also some classification changes, but rather than deal with him, I'd probably just appeal to the state. But I was hoping that one of you all would be able to schedule a meeting and for us to sit down and see if we can get this resolved in the office. If not, then I just need to go to the state of West Virginia and appeal everything that's happening.
Yes, sir. I don't see that being an issue. I'd be more than happy to get with Larry and see if we can sit down and talk about this.
Okay, all right. Just let me know and I'll make sure I'm here.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day. Thank you.
Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Next up, for our second session is the Honorable Larry Hess, our assessor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. We do have one change that John's going to need to make and present to you and make a change on one of the commercial properties. Other than that, we don't have anything for residential, but you know, I can meet with whenever you want to meet with Doug and we can talk about that. I do want to share some information with you real quick. Every year on February the 1st, we get a notification from the state tax department that it's a sales ratio report. And it kind of gives us, it's kind of like a report card for us, basically. It shows us where we are with, once we finish all of our work throughout the year. We do our land tables, we do our modifier studies, we do our neighborhood studies and pricing and go through all the whole stuff that takes a year to do. We get this report from the state tax department, and it kind of tells us what we've done and where we're at with our appraised values compared to market values and that type of thing. And what we have is, bottom line is for Berkeley County that for tax year 25, and we had terrible a lot of sales to go by. We got, a lot of counties don't have sales like we do, but we're lucky to have sales. But we had 2,520 valid sales that we could look at and compare to this year. So we have a lot of sales that we can compare to and to match up to make sure we have our values in line. But bottom line with the report is that 100% we would be right at 100% market value. We are at 92%, and that means that on an average of all property in Berkeley County, based on all of our studies that we've done, bottom line, all property is appraised within 8% of the fair market value across the board.
Within 8%.
Within 8%. Now, we can be 10% above, or we can be 10% below, but the closer you get to that 100%, you've spread out into the higher more than what the property values are worth. So you're better off staying in the lower part of that less 10%. So you're right perfectly where we need to be.
Don't want to go any lower than 92. Actually.
No, you don't want to go, well, you can't go below 90 or you don't pay us our monitoring.
Right.
So we got to be at least there. But if you get to 100%, a lot of properties are going to be appraised way too high because they spring out like, you know, on an average. And it's hard to justify if you bought a house for $250,000 and we've got $275 on it. And it throws a lot of them way over like that. But Berkeley County
is
at
this
90.
just residential you're talking about?
This is residential, commercial,
everything.
everything.
Okay.
That's why I was wondering when you when you were finished asking or was talking about it, the 2,500 comps that you use,
Yeah.
did that also include commercial properties
Yes,
as well?
Yeah.
Yep. So Berkeley County's in good shape. That's a good report. And we've passed our monitoring every year. I don't do this work, the guys do this work back there, but they get it done. And
Guys and gals.
guys and gals. Yeah, sorry about that, Ron. But so we're in good shape according to the state. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Larry, does the state publish those report cards for the rest of the counties for the commission to see? Is that public
I can give
information?
it to you. I can forward them to you. I don't think I actually send them to you guys. I don't think so. Or
Never
you
seen
you
it.
would have gotten them one, but
It'd be nice to see what the rest of the counties are doing.
Absolutely.
now I don't know about the other counties. See, I don't get.
No, I wasn't out, I was wondering if there was a list of compilation of all the counties in the state, what it looks
I
like.
haven't seen that. They just send us for Berkeley County, and the others get. But it's possibly something we can get from the state. I'm sure they have it.
Hot topic at the CCA.
Wouldn't it though?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I'll get you a copy. I'll shoot you a copy of this one, and but I'll see if that's available. Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, and we'll get together, I'll contact you before today and see if we can get something set up there. Thank you.
Thank you all.
John has
You're
one.
coming up.
This property is Martinsburg property. District map and parcel is 061735. It's located on Winchester Avenue, Doc Snyder's old dentist office. And I spoke with his wife. I had increases in Martinsburg this year, and she got her increase, and she came in to talk about it. And she was explaining to me how some of the issues that she had with the building. And so talking to her, made an adjustment to her building values. Currently, the land is assessed at $62,940. The building, $89,640 for a total assessment of $152,400. And what I'm proposing would be the land value would stay the same at $62,940. Building value would decrease to $79,500 for a total assessment of $142,440.
What was the building before?
$89,460.
John, would you mind sharing with us the reason for the reduction?
I wasn't aware, and she was explaining to me that that building was originally built in about the 30s, that it was a single-story building, and the second story was added. And she was telling me issues she was having with, since her husband passed, about running and whatnot, but she mentioned to me how the foundation, there's issues with her foundation, which I imagine would stem from the fact that she had added that later on. So that was basically my impetus about thinking, well, maybe we ought to take a look at the building value on it, being that she was confided in me about some of the issues the building was having.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. I just inquiring. So is there anything that we need to do with that? Do we need to approve that?
Yes, sir. If you accept that, then we'd have to put in the book, but you have to accept it before.
Yeah, you've heard Mr. Street with his explanation of the reduction. Do I have a motion to support that?
So moved.
I second that.
Okay, so it's been properly moved and second that we accept the assessor's report on parcel number 617-35. Now, I didn't get the address.
The address, yes, I have that.
Winchester Avenue.
739 Winchester Avenue.
Right, and 739 Winchester Avenue to go from 152,440 to the reduction of $142,440. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
That didn't come
Thank
out
you.
right, though, funny. It was a $9,500 reduction, wasn't it?
Yes.
The original, the current assessment is 152.4.
400.
Correct.
You're taking away 9,500.
All right, it'd be what, 9560 to 142? Is my math working out right?
That would make it right. Yeah, because we were at 860, 89 to 640.
Correct, 89,460 was the original building value currently, and then I'm proposing 79,500.
Thank you. Anything else, sir?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Ms. Kersey with the Director of Martinsburg Initiative. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
Good afternoon.
Actually, we're not doing too good.
No?
The woman who was involved in the shooting is one of my social.
Come on.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Awful.
Yeah, you got a nice little card, too, with a lot of those nice pictures on it from the initiative, too, in the mails.
Thank you for providing the opportunity today to share with you about the month and perhaps ask your consideration for some funding. I would like to start with the Martinsburg Initiative, School, Community, Health, and Education. Our mission is substance use prevention, building strong families. I've often thought that I should rebrand the Martinsburg Initiative because our work reaches far outside. We work in all of Berkeley County, provide support to all of Berkeley. The social worker that I mentioned to you, Melody Cook, serving Upper Hill Elementary. We have social workers, 16 of the have social workers in most of the schools in the city of Martinsburg, but we also have a social worker at Mountain Ridge Intermediate School, Musselman High School, and Mills. We would like to provide social work support to all of the schools in Berkeley County, and that's part of the request that I have for you. We are 100% grant funded. Every piece of funding I put together like a puzzle to make all of our programming. The support that we provide to the schools includes mentoring for youth, after school programs, and we also provide social mentoring. Our social workers teach prevention curriculum. For drugs, we also teach. We sponsor 4 youth coalitions, one at Martinsburg High, one at Spring Mills High, one at Musselman High, and one at. That's the youth voice. Those youth are working with community service and also prevention programming. We do training with them. We do a lot of they do a lot of safety awareness centered around proms and homecomings. Martinsburg Initiative funds 3 positions in the WVU hospitals. We fund Anne Gray, who is the fund a linkages coordinator, and we fund S. Recently, Berkeley County overdose fatality rate significantly, 30% more. And I believe in my heart it is all the community organizations. It is also the of this response in our emergency department to people. Martinsburg Initiative teaches classes at Pyramid for individuals who are in treatment in both Carneysville and Hedgesville. We also kind of are the lead agency behind the crisis center, provides the training for 911 dispatchers and for crisis. We have a community cupboard. It is a fully stocked cupboard with basic hygiene supplies, food, clothing, tents, blankets, anything you can imagine. We provide those items to anyone in need in the entire Berkeley County. Anyone who contacts us in the store, any community, get those items to without barriers. Actually, just this morning, I approved we're going to provide a scholarship for a North Middle School student, part of the spring basketball league, Parks and Rec, and I had a family who had been evicted from a house. And absolutely, we do a lot to support the community. We provide in-kind support to more than 10 community organizations, including the Berkeley Morgan Health Department. We provide social work production clinic. We work closely with the Boys and Girls Club, CASA, with WVU Medicine Core Team, which is their work. We speak here, substance use, Tri-State Collaborative, and actually this morning I was at Assistant Superintendent RJ was part of that conversation, and she was sharing about kind of how and then go into the her takeaway was have to, I will use her language, get people when they're young, work with youngsters, attention. That's what the Martinsburg is. Our work is important. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I don't really have any question. I have a comment for sure. It seems like you've really grown this program from where its original concepts were. And we all know Angie at the hospital and the great work that she's done. I'm just surprised that that's where funding comes from for her instead of WVU as harm reduction dollars that go to the Berkeley Morgan Health Department. I don't understand why those agencies aren't taking care of their own people. But.
We have the grant those positions. The hope is that built into the budget, but it then.
I know they do good work. There's no doubt about that, and she's a very passionate person about her work. So, you guys have any questions?
Is that a local decision by the hospital?
What this was probably in one of our first grants with the HIDA, and we started with an S provider. And we formed a relationship. But this
And
was
they've got a new
vision,
CEO
yeah.
over there too at the hospital, and I think we're open to this.
Dr. Laudner. Around this concept, let's create substance use.
Let's have any other
And
questions?
she expressed that to us last year, that y'all are expanding out in the county schools as well, and they're doing as much there as you are in the city of Martinsburg. more of a Martinsburg, Berkeley County initiative now. So.
And I have a waiting list. What data will be.
Okay, John or HD, you have anything?
I don't.
Just where to go?
Nope.
Good. Okay, Margaret, thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you,
opportunity.
thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.
Thank you.
Next up is Deborah Fleming, Executive Director of American Red Cross. Good afternoon. Oh,
Commissioner meeting.
it's all
so
good. Yeah, it's all good.
I brought
Yeah, we're commissioners now.
Some guy passed
We
the
used to be
bill.
councilmen.
Some guy
Yeah,
passed the
so-
bill and changed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that it was a council and then commissioners.
Well, everyone else in the state was commissioned except us. So
Well, we were a commission, and then it changed to a council, and then back to a commission.
Okay.
When we first became 5-member board, they changed it in order for some, I think, legislative jargon. So it would set us as different than any other county commission, that if we had something that we would try to do through the legislature, it gave us like the little island to set on to try to get something done, but that never worked.
Okay.
So they just put us back to the commission.
Okay. Thank you for
Is that right?
that.
Pretty
was-
much it?
It was literally just changed it in the bill.
Yeah.
In the code.
Well, thank you very much for having me here today. Am I speaking loudly enough? Okay. The mission of the Red Cross is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. And the first thing I want to do is thank you for your previous donation to the American Red Cross that's allowed us to fulfill our mission. This year, we have helped 85 individuals, 35 families within Berkeley County in the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter of the Red Cross. We've provided more than $24,000 in financial assistance, which equals more than $700 per family. In order to ensure that we have enough funds to continue this mission, we're requesting a grant of $5,000 this year. With that money, we do provide immediate assistance. That immediate assistance includes, allows people to find lodging. It also allows them to provide food, replace clothing, baby care needs, and also personal hygiene. The additional money that we can provide is for health services. So if somebody loses their CPAP machine or their medication, if you've ever tried to refill a prescription before your prescription is due, we have nurses that are there to advocate and help fulfill that prescription. And if the insurance companies won't pay for it, we provide that as well. So we replace anything from dentures, walkers, any durable medical equipment that the person might need. We also offer fatality assistance in the event, unfortunately, that somebody may pass in one of these fires, and that it would include spiritual care, and mental health services, and it also provides funding for funeral expenses as well. In the prevention side of things, in recovery, we also have a caseworker that works with the family. So we have our responders that show up the day of the fire, whether it's at 3 o'clock in the morning or in the middle of the day. They show up on scene to provide this financial assistance through the form of a debit card. And that allows people to immediately get the support that they need in that moment. Then after that, we set them up with a caseworker, and they help navigate getting a new place to live, working with other agencies to provide clothing, and all the other needs that they may have. If there is a gap that the other agencies aren't able to fill, such as, let's just say there's not enough money for security deposit, we can provide that security deposit for them to get them into housing as well. Those are limited funds, but that is something we can do if all other funds are exhausted. Before a disaster, though, one of the most important things is that residents do know what to do should a fire occur. So we do offer preparedness education to children in schools. We offer it to families when we install smoke alarms in their home. And the smoke alarms we install are 10-year battery smoke alarms, so they don't have to replace the batteries, because most people either don't replace the batteries as often as they should because they can't afford to, or they just lose interest in it. So we make sure that we do provide smoke alarms that have 10-year batteries, and after 10 years, we can replace those as well.
I take interest in mine about 2 o'clock in the morning when I hear that chirp. And I gotta go change that battery.
Yeah, I'm a landlord, so I know that I have been in places when I go to check, and there's 7 chirpings in different places going off. I'm like, oh my goodness, within 5 minutes, I'm out the door getting batteries for them. So yeah, it is a very important thing to do. If at any time any of you would be in a fire and at 3 o'clock in the morning you've lost your cards, your cash, your keys, your car, we would be there for you as well, because the American Red Cross supports anybody who's in a disaster. It doesn't matter who you are, or how much you make, or any of those things. We're there for everybody, regardless of whether it's a small family fire or if it's a large disaster.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming, for coming in. You will provide a tremendous asset to this county, especially on the fire side, is what I'm the most familiar with. And it's pretty comforting to know that all we had to do was pick up the radio and call and ask that Red Cross be sent, and within maybe an hour, folks are there starting to get people squared away, and it's their first sense of hope that things are going to start turning around from this point forward. And the volunteers that you have that come out, they're tremendous folks. They care so much about people, and thank you for everything that you do.
You're out of Winchester, is that correct?
Yeah, Winchester and Hagerstown are our main offices.
Oh, you have Hagerstown as well?
Yeah.
So, you cover all 3 counties here in West Virginia: Morgan, Jefferson, and Berkeley?
Yeah, we
And
cover.
how many counties do you cover in Virginia now?
So okay, let me make sure I got this right. We have 1 in Maryland, 5 in, we cover the whole eastern panhandle of West Virginia. And then we cover,
On all 3 counties?
we have all 5,
We're talking Hampshire as well?
Hampshire and Hardy.
Probably Grant. If
Sorry,
it's
I'm
only
so
5.
new still.
It's Hampshire and Hardy.
I'm getting there.
Geography test.
It is. I did write these down somewhere, but not in this phone. Let's see. Hampshire, okay. I'm still getting confused which one's Virginia and West Virginia in my mind. I apologize for that.
Probably represent Berkeley, Jefferson, Morgan, Hampshire, and Hardy.
Yep, that's it.
But in,
Artie, how'd you remember that
in
one?
Hagerstown, do you just do Washington County?
Just Washington, yep.
What about in Virginia? Just Frederick?
No, we have 5 counties there.
In Virginia, 5 counties?
Yeah, we have 5 counties there as well. This chapter. The numbers I gave you, though, are just for Berkeley
And
County.
are the other county agents, government funding any money to your organization?
We have, yes, Washington County is funding, has funded in the past. This is the first meeting I've been to for this next funding fiscal year. I don't think anybody in Virginia is funding yet. Let me see. I could get that information and email it to you.
I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, in West Virginia, we're building relationships in some of the, so I was brought on to build more relationships within the communities and to expand within West Virginia, particularly in the rural communities as well. So that is something that we're working on, and I know we don't have a lot of support in those communities because we don't have as many fires as we have in Berkeley County. We have basically about 17-18% of the fires that we have are in Berkeley County. So it has been typically our highest fire response rate. over the last 3 years. So
Okay. Russ, have anything else?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks for your, the staff and the volunteers that you send out. They do great work.
Thank you.
Sure, if you could, that'd be great.
Next up, Michelle Suddeth with CASA of the Eastern Panhandle. Good afternoon. How you doing?
Hi, I'm actually Carrie Lefevre with CASA.
Sure, that's fine.
Be in her place. I am joined by a support.
It's however you want it. This is very relaxed, we're laid back, and we just like to hear, what your requests are and what you'll use the money for.
Okay, well, I will introduce, this is.
I'll speak for a minute about what we're asking for. Again, my name is Carrie Lefebvre. I'm with CASA of the Eastern Panhandle. My title is Youth Programs Manager, and what we're asking for is financial support to continue expansion of our Fostering Futures Forward program. As we have requested funding from the Commission in the past for our Fostering Futures program, and this year we're really kicking it off with a streamlined mentorship, recruitment, and training program. I came here to talk to you guys about the foster care to prison pipeline and how you can save money by supporting young people in foster care with mentors. But what I decided I really wanted to say is that I ask for you to give us hope. Dr. Chan Hellman defines hope as the belief that the future will be better than today and that you have the power to make it happen. Our mentors and those from the community who work with our young people train them to have hope. We work on providing leadership, life skills, social skills, health and wellness education, substance abuse prevention, and workforce development. Through that, we have started doing monthly engagement sessions with our mentors and mentees, and we do an annual camp where we have an intensive opportunity for them to learn their life skills. That is where Mr. Sager has come in to provide support. He's been working with us for over a year now in fleshing out our Fostering Futures Forward program, and I had a wonderful conversation with him one day, and he said to me that we're not just here as a business to take from Berkeley County. We want to know what we can do to give back to Berkeley County too. And so I will say that as a business in this community, they've been so supportive of recognizing that our young people are the future of this community.
Very good.
Thank you very much, and I would just like to let Mike have
You're
an
welcome,
opportunity.
Mr. Sager.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, for sure. And
We got-
actually,
We got your letter. Yeah.
okay. So the first wanted to apologize because I haven't met any of y'all. And I've been kind of on the apology tour for a couple of years. My name is Mike. I'm from the cement industry. I come from where cement started in the U.S. up in the Lehigh Valley. Bounced around 6 different plants in the eastern U.S. and I was most recently in South Carolina for about 14 years. I was able to raise the kids, get them almost off the payroll, almost. And so now my wife and I, my boss had called me a few years ago and he said, "Hey, you got to get up to Martinsburg because we got a problem up there." And I said, "Oh, hey, boss, I told you that it's going to take 5 years to turn around a facility like this." And he said, "You got 3 months." So what happened then ultimately is that ownership of our company changed over once. We were acquired by a company called Summit Materials last year. And in 5 days, we're going to be acquired by Quikrete. So you all aware of Quikrete. It will be the largest American-made building materials manufacturer at that point in the United States. And so a lot of changes coming, and I'd come up here because in my career, what I tend to gravitate towards is really difficult situations where teams can't find a way to work together and they can't be successful. And, I look to people and I tell them that, my first goal is that people are able to kind of look at themselves in the mirror and say, and I'm not a loser, and that because I can achieve things, I can do things. And I ask people all the time to first consider that before you come into work, you put your boots on, you come to work, you got to first square up with your wife, and that you have to have a good relationship with your wife, and you have to deal really properly with your children. And then you can deal with your community, and then you're ready to come and work with me, right? And I don't think in terms of necessarily how many tons of cement we can produce, but I think more in terms of that, this plant, you may know it's been in operation. Baker family came here in 1898. It's been in operation over 125 years, and the numbers of people that went underneath the earth and mining above the ground and the different things that have been going on down there, it's a long time, and I fully recognize that site, the different companies, that we have not done justice to the community, not at all. And from the standpoint that we do things wrong all the time, or we sound wrong, or we look wrong, right? And my goal is that we can correct a lot of those things through relationships and communicating. But at the same time, I want to be sure that we have a successful facility, because successful facilities have people that can go out and they're solid husbands. They raise their families, and they're good in their community. They take care of the community. And that's really what I'm looking for. And, a couple years ago, my wife, she came and she was teaching at Eagle school up on the north end of town. And it was interesting because she would talk about the parents and the kids, and I was seeing similar behavioral issues with my people. That this rampant issue, I would say, with lack of trust and trustworthiness and the value for the truth, and it occurred to me that this is really something for us to dig into, and I view it from the perspective that I really personally need to connect where the ragged edges of trouble are, and because that's, I think, where I understand what the need is. And this is where I found it, honestly, is that one day I was helping one of our guys deliver some Christmas presents, and I think it was early December, because the Eastern Panhandle Law Association does a great job, funding and getting presents to these children every year, and we're delivering presents. I thought, I was hearing about this, just talking to the secretary at the time, and realizing that the horrific situation. The stats here: 99% of these kids, they're here, and it's some kind of an opioid situation that happens with the family. People, including me, make bad decisions, right? Sometimes you fall into stuff, sometimes you make bad decisions, and then there's trouble. But none of them children ask for it, right? So I view it from the perspective that, there's always this balance between, did you ask for their trouble, or did you not ask for the trouble? But I view this one as, that we kind of have to race to the gate and do what we can. So from my perspective, personally, it's why I joined the board for CASA. But for my company is kind and gracious enough to say, hey, whatever you think in your local community in terms of this. And for me, I've always thought in terms of children and families and children. So that being the case, any consideration you could have in regards to this program here, honestly, things take money, but really, I think I see the need for us here in this area is we just need people's hearts to connect with it. So as much as we can to try and raise awareness for these children, and we had a bowling event that we sponsored there in November, and to spend a few hours, and I brought along some goofy dads to crack some jokes and hang out with them and have a lot of fun. And when you think about it, that's like one day in years that they have a normal interaction, and it's, I think, going to be a really important thing for us to lean into this, for these children, because the reality is you may think, well, what's the point? Are they really going to do okay? Statistically, they're not, right? What's the point? And it's the starfish story, right? And that's the thing that I think we want to focus on as an organization, and certainly for me, and and pulling my company into it, and as much as I can, other businesses, that this is our community. And, this is just one of those things where we ought not have it in our community. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate you coming today. We know, some of us know very closely the needs as the children go through very, very difficult times. And thank goodness there's folks like you that are willing to step in and help them navigate that process. And you, as the
For your company to recognize.
yeah, to bring Argos here today, that's a big deal. And thank you for coming. And we've never seen anybody from Argos here today, before today. So
Is the name going to officially change here at some point again?
Likely. I mean, legally, they can't talk to us directly until Monday, I think. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see it.
I gotta say, my grandfather worked there back in the 30s, 40s, 50s.
Oh, wow.
He was Standard Line. Yeah. He lived in one of the houses up there in Big Springs that called Hunky Hill, and that's over from Italy back then. And that started.
This has to be beneficial. I think for both. Partnerships. Companies that can recognize our
And P&G, of course, sent a letter as well in support of your programs.
as we revenue.
we're all that thread that creates the patchwork in the community that we have here. So once again, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all very much.
I like that revenue diversity. I like that. I'm going to use that.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, take a little, probably about a 20-minute break. All right. We're back in session. Next up is Joe Burton with Martinsburg County Parks and Rec. Good afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir.
So we'll start with running through a few things that we did this past year at some of the parks. And I guess it was just a few months ago I was here and gave you an update, so some of this stuff is kind of familiar to you. What we've done is divide all of our parks into county-owned properties and city-owned properties. So everything I speak to you about today is for the county-owned properties.
I just have one question on that picture. Is that fish truly came out of the Poorhouse Farm Lake for sure? That wasn't a
Fish
setup.
absolutely did.
Look at that size of that wide
So
open mount bass. Look at
Great
that thing.
story about, get totally off track, but great story about the park this year. We really had that water quality beautiful. We were having a company work on management of the water chemistry monthly and really got the algae down to very low levels. And you always get blooms that they come and go, and all the proteins that come out of Tuscarora Creek and dump into that lake make it very hard to keep in balance. But really had it cleared up. There was a ton of recreational fishing happening at the lake and some really nice bass like that being caught. And then unfortunately we had that terrible drought. And even with the fountain running and 2 aerators going and doing everything we could with that water, the dissolved oxygen got lower than it should have been. And a lot of fish like that one did not make it through that drought. It seemed like that is the fish that was affected most. It was the biggest bass and the biggest bluegill died, and we lost about 30 big bass. And
They require the most oxygen to survive.
and many of them were about that size. So that was the bad side of that story. So in the past year, we spent about $97,000 on repairs out at Poorhouse Park. We spent $105,000 in labor and $54,000 on mowing the park property. At the lake, we had a good-sized leak in the dam right between the lake and the creek. We were able to fix that in-house. We did lose some water from it, but we got onto it pretty quick and repaired that ourselves. We had to replace the fountain motor and the wiring harness. It was chewed by some animal, probably muskrats, and that was quite an expensive endeavor to get that fixed. But that's up and running now, and we've expanded our USDA contract to manage nuisance wildlife that was primarily geared towards the geese that set up shop there from time to time. We've expanded that to take care of all nuisance critters that may do damage to that lake, and especially muskrats. Muskrats are kind of tough because we have that huge wetland right by the lake, and they like to multiply in there, and they like to come over to the lake and cause trouble digging into the banks and chewing up the wires and doing what they can do.
You trap those, Joe, or?
Yeah, well, we have the USDA works in a partnership with DNR, and they've got some people in there that do trapping. Yeah. Oh, let's see. We also added a new gravel parking lot out at Poorhouse. It's by the road down to the Kester Pavilion. So we have an area there where there's always people parking on the grass. So we just stoned that whole area, and then we fixed up all the potholes in that road down to that area, make room for some more folks down there. We added a gravel walking path around the lake, the section that I think at one time may have had stone on it, but it's kind of turned into a cattle path over time. So we just cleaned that up and finished that walkway with stone on the backside. We also, if you could flip the slide, did a big cosmetic remodel to the brick house there, and we've named it the 1916 house because that's the year it was built. And we've opened this up as a place for people renting the barn venue to get ready, mainly for people getting ready for the weddings. So you see some shots there. Most of that work was done by our staff, and I think they did an excellent job. Teresa and Tracy in our office did all that decorating and picked out everything that went inside of it, and they did a phenomenal job. What we've done is make an area.
You've seen it before that.
It was quite a
contrast.
It was quite a turnaround.
Yeah.
The lower level is geared towards the bridal party. What used to be the dining room is now a big dressing room. It's got a big wide vanity with access to the bathroom right next to it. And what was the full kitchen down there is now just a kitchenette. We took the stove out of there, but we've got a microwave, and that's actually upstairs. We've got a microwave and a sink and everything they need to get snacks and stuff ready. Then we've mirrored everything on the upstairs for the guys. So there's some sitting rooms and changing rooms. There's a wet bar area in that center picture with a little countertop and sink and a place to sit. It's been very popular. We got it open and officially offered November 1st. And within that first 30 days, I think we had 10 bookings. And we're seeing that as people book those weddings about a year in advance. And that calendar opens on the first of each month, just a rolling calendar. So on February 1st of this year, you can book out to February 1st of next year. And many people that are booking now are taking that house with it. So I think that will be a...
What are you charging for that, Joe? The extra?
In the prime season, it's $300 a day. It looks like nobody wants it for more than a day. Sometimes they rent the barn for 2 days, a day to get ready and a day for their event. But this, they really only want to get ready that morning of. So generally renting it one day. But we put $44,000 from our small cap fund into that property this year. And it might be about a 5-year return on that investment, but we feel confident that the popularity is just going to grow. It might be open for some other events during the week. Somebody might rent that property for a small gathering of some type. It's only suited for about 20 people, but it would be good for a bridal shower, baby shower, some other small event like that.
And what is the barn rent for?
The barn, we just raised the prices on that. We did a study of all the other wedding venues in the area, and we wanted to make sure we were among the lowest price, but we wanted to be semi-competitive. We didn't want to give it away. So the main thing we did is reduce the discount for multiple days. And the primary reason we did that is to create some more opportunity. We had really too good of a deal for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday rental. And people were taking us up on that as well. They should have.
Sure.
But then they're only using it Friday evening, Saturday afternoon is their wedding, and Sunday morning for a couple hours to clean up. So they took that property, off the market for everybody else for 3 days, and really they're barely in there for one full day. And then we noticed that some people took the days on either side of that, and they're in and out in a day. So we're currently in peak season at $1,800 for a Saturday in peak season. But this time of year, you can rent that barn as low as $250 during the week. And in fact, we had CMC, our new rebar manufacturer, was in there just last week, all week, having meetings. So they got a great deal on a really nice facility during the week at a time where it's not used much. So we are keeping it open year-round now. Last year, we did have one pipe freeze. Made some changes to make sure that didn't happen again. This year we didn't have any problems with that, and we are seeing a little uptick in off rentals during the week and in these off seasons, so we hope to continue that.
I even feel the 1,800 is a fair deal. That's a very fair price.
When you look at comps, it's
Yes,
an
it's
extremely
very fair.
good deal. You can easily pay $5,000 and get less. So we feel like it's a very fair offering. And at the current rate, I think you can still get it for the whole entire weekend in this house for, I think, $3,600. So you can compare that to a one-day rental at some other venues, and it's a good deal. Also this year, we did a good bit of work to the disc golf course and the trails around it. We've got a lot more work to do there, but we did a lot of catch up. We removed a lot of dead wood. We opened up some trails. We fixed up a lot of the tees. And in October, they had their annual Mothman tournament, and that was a big success. They sold out all their spots. They had people on the waiting list. We had some really nice compliments after the fact about how great everything looked up on the mountain there. I recently got some interesting stats from the Disc Golf Club. They use an app called UDisc, and it's an app where if you go play disc golf anywhere, you can put in your score yourself. So it's just a self-guided thing, but a lot of people that are into it, they do that, and I guess it tracks you compared to other people in the area. We had 1,652 people log into that at Poorhouse this season. And I asked them just their guess, what do you think, how many of the total people that would use the course use that app? And he laughed and he said, not a lot. he said maybe a third of the people use that particular app. So it just gives you a little bit of a snapshot. I think some of us who might not be disc golfers underestimate how popular that is and how many people it draws in. But if you go by his estimate, that puts about 5,000 unique customers that came in just to use that disc golf course. And that's just one thing you might do while you're at the park. The park was also home to, if you could flip it one more time, a lot of nice community events this year. We had the schools hosted cross-country meets, both the middle schools and the high schools. I think we even had the EPAC High School Championship was held at Courthouse Farm Park this year. We had a great family fishing event in May, and this year we're rolling it back to April, so it'll be a little bit cooler. But we did a special trout stocking. We had 120 people come out, families of all ages come out and participate in that event. It was a great day. We're looking forward to doing that again. We had our color run in August, and we hosted over 70 different events at the barn. So a combination of mainly weddings, but weddings and other events was over 70 rentals for the barn. We also had a great tree planting event with the Capon Institute and Audubon Society partnered with us to plant 24 new trees in the park. And with that tree planting project was a whole week of educational field trips for Berkeley County school students that came out and helped plant those trees and learn about the aquatic life in the stream and the trees that they were putting in. And we've already got that plan to do that again this year. We're going to this year target the Kester Pavilion side of the lake from the handicap dock towards the stone house. That whole stretch in there is going to get 24 trees this year. So we're looking forward to that. All right, the next one is the Randy Smith Center. Randy Smith Center is always busy with our leagues, with tournaments. This year we expanded our summer camp offering there, and we booked every spot that was available. We're going to attempt to double that for next year. We were really a little bit surprised how quickly they all went this year, this past year. So this year we're going to double that amount to 128 possible spots, which we'll have to staff up for, and we'll see how that goes. But based on what happened this year, I think we may fill up, or we might get very close. We've added a little gravel parking lot there. Parking is a issue at Randy Smith because Musselman High School has gotten so busy with events, and so has the Randy Smith Center. And when those events land on the same day, which many times, especially in the winter basketball season, they do land on the same day, there just doesn't seem to be enough parking to go around. So we've mainly just tried to make some staff parking to get our staff vehicles out of the way. And you can put about 12 cars in there. It's not a solution, but it's a Band-Aid, and it helped a little bit. And one thing that I'd like to do is build that out into that depressed area, do some fill in there, and expand that parking so we can get more of our patrons out of the school parking lot and into some designated parking. Also added a little concrete dumpster pad that you can see in the corner of that to make it easy. Prior to that, our staff was going down there and hauling trash out in trucks, so we're a lot more efficient now, and we're having our part-time staff put the trash in there where it belongs. Randy Smith Center hosts a lot of community events, including the pickleball tournament that's coming up, volleyball and basketball tournaments, many weekends, especially in March. We'll have, I think, 4 or 5 weeks straight of tournaments down there. And this past year, Musselman High School graduation was held in the Randy Smith Center. All right, next one is DuPont. DuPont is kind of a good example of our facilities that have bounced back since COVID. Our numbers have exploded since COVID. Our youth soccer numbers are right back to where they were in 2019. That's a great story, but the wear and tear on DuPont is catching up to it. So what we've done this year, we closed off the lower field completely to games for fall. We aerated, fertilized, and overseeded that whole area. We also did an area that was newly graded, which you can see is kind of the greenest spot. Sorry, I'm backwards. can't see it in that top picture at all. It's not that. It's
No.
the other side. It's towards Spring Mills High School.
Towards the school, yeah.
There was about a 2-acre plot there that got, it was just a topsoil pile. What got graded out a year ago, and we thought, let's see if we can turn that into a field, at least for practice. So we've also been working on that to make it playable. Did some fill on that, some aeration, some overseeding, fertilization. And we hope to this spring at least get that open for practice, which will take a little pressure off of the game fields and prolong their life a little bit. Obviously, the goal at DuPont would be to eventually start replacing fields with artificial turf that could hold up to the wear and tear that we're putting on it. We've got 300 plus players in each soccer league or soccer season in the spring and again in the fall, and they're on that surface about 7 days a week during that season.
Are they using that for lacrosse?
Yeah, in the spring we do have some lacrosse games there also. Yeah.
Really gaining in popularity.
It is, and I think that if we were able to put turf out there, it's easy to do multi-sport lines on turf. It would open up opportunities for more football, for lacrosse, and for the rec soccer programs. This year at DuPont, we extended some fence along that railroad track to keep balls from going down there, which has been a problem over time. We did some repairs to our irrigation system. Several valves needed replaced. We had backflow preventers that needed replaced. And even after all that work, we had one just fail. We got a notice from the water department the other day that one of them had failed, and we had water pumping everywhere out there. So we'll have more work to do at DuPont as the weather warms up a little bit.
Right on time, brother.
The Rooney Park has had a lot of changes in the past year. And you see that nice looking pavilion / batting cage structure on the right of that picture. Right now we're putting electric in that, and in the spring that will be finished up and ready for use. And the way that's going to work, the block portion at the back of that will be a storage building. And also housed in that is the nets for the batting cage. So you can use it while picnic tables under it, and you can use it as a pavilion. And then when you want to use it as a batting cage, you can move those picnic tables and pull those nets out. It has lights underneath the roof section, and it'll be used for both of those things.
And most of that was donated.
Mountain State Stingers is a travel baseball club that has provided almost all the work and funds to get that structure built. They've done a tremendous amount of work at that whole facility, including the 2 new dugouts you see, and a lot of work to improve those fields. We certainly appreciate all the work they're doing. And that field is used by a couple different travel baseball clubs. It's used by the Little League, and it's available to the public to use also. Also out at Rooney is the new playground went in a couple years ago. We did a couple minor improvements to it this past year. There was a set of steps that needed a handrail, needed some more mulch, and just a little bit of tweaking to make that friendly for the public. We also put in a fence enclosure around the porta-johns and set them on a concrete pad to make that look a little bit nicer, and we don't have trouble with people tipping them over like we used to. Okay, Inwood Bunker Hill Park sits right by Mill Creek Intermediate School and gets used a lot. You all know very well there's a need for parks in Inwood, and I know you're working to get the new park open. This little park gets a lot of use, and it has a very nice walking trail on it with some passive fitness stations as you go through. And this year we spent $6,000 to regrade and stone that walking path. We're happy to see that used. The next one is Hoax Run. So this one's wrapping up. Our goal is to get this tied up in early spring, hoping for an April grand opening. What's left to do is the stormwater management area, and the utility tie-ins are the major things. There's also a little bit of trail work to finish where the trail comes from behind the pavilion and hooks into the front side. And but it's the stormwater, the utility tie-ins, and the final coat of paving on the parking lot are the 3 major things to get that done. There is an error in the paperwork that I sent you guys under capital improvements. I missed a digit on this one. It's about $175,000 to go to complete construction, and I have it in your paperwork as $75,000. Making a note of that. That pavilion was one of the Macy's pavilions that came from those funds. So we're happy to get that one up. And then there's funds left for one more of those Macy's pavilions that we would like to do a Poorhouse Park this coming year.
They're actually doing one up at the new Inwood Park too.
So there should have been money there for 3.
At the Inwood Park's.
Well, yeah, one was kind of set aside for Inwood.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that, I'm counting that one, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Stonebridge Park, a new acquisition this year. We haven't done a lot with it yet, but we did go in and expand the parking area. It grew by about 10 feet on 2 sides. We got rid of some of the tree stumps and some of the rougher things that were in that parking area. We brush hogged that whole area to get it cleaned up. Appreciate you guys funding that project to get it kicked off. And we look forward to the DNR coming in to get that boat ramp built so we can do some more work to that area. This year, we're adding this to our mowing list. We'll be policing the area for trash on a weekly basis and hope to do some improvements on the trail along the creek to get better access to it. Last one. That's the last one. So a few plans for 2026. We've got a long list of capital improvements. I know you've already told me funds are tight. So that's something that we can look through and decide what priorities are and what the county would most likely to see funded. Top of the list is adding another pavilion that wouldn't be any cost to the county at this point because the funds are already there from Macy's. So we'd like to do that at Poorhouse because that's a very popular site and we feel like we have room there to put one more pavilion. With that pavilion, I would really like to build another permanent restroom facility at Poorhouse. It is going to be an expensive endeavor because it would mean a well and a septic in addition to building the block structure. There's only one out there, and it gets used by many, many people. So I'd really like to position one closer to the football field side of that property and put the pavilion close to that restroom. All of the pavilions are popular, but definitely the ones with a restroom right next to them are what the public really want to see and use the most. In addition to that, at Poorhouse, I asked for some funds for door access controls to the restrooms. And this is so we can have restrooms locked and unlocked on a timer rather than having to send somebody out there to do that work. And that's something I'm also asking for from the city and all the city parks that have restrooms. We're also asking for new trash cans. We've got 55-gallon drums right now for trash cans, and they serve the purpose. But we would like to upgrade and have something that looks a little bit more appropriate in a nice park. And something that didn't hold quite that volume would be okay with our cleaning staff. Those cans get pretty heavy, those bags. I mentioned to you that we had a decent size fish kill at the lake, and I'm asking for some funds to help restock that. There's definitely still fish in the lake, but it would give us a leg up if we could put some bass and bluegill back in there this year.
I think the DNR will do that for you at no cost. I've got a contact I'll give you.
Okay. There's no price attached to this because we're going to do all this work in-house, but we're going to work on the 9-hole disc golf course and convert it to an 18-hole youth course at the front of the property and try to get a youth disc golf program started by this fall. We want to continue to do some trail improvements, and we want to map and better separate with some signage the disc golf and hiking and biking trails on the back of the property. Downstream Strategies is going to begin work on the Tuscarora. They received some grant funding to do work on the section of the creek through the new property, and they're starting design work now, and probably by the end of 2025 they'll actually be doing some work through the banks there, which will be nice as we get ready to develop that side of the property. To get that stream cleaned up would be really nice. We purchased we went into a lease agreement for some equipment this year. We got a side-by-side utility vehicle, and we mainly got that for use at Poorhouse. So we've had a really hard time getting to the backside of that mountain for mowing and trimming. The access road's gotten to the point where we can't really get a truck up there. We still have a very hard time getting a mower up there, but the side-by-side will be really helpful for getting chainsaws, tools, and people up there to do maintenance. We also have a small plow for it so we can do sidewalks and small areas like that. That's something that we leased, and we also leased a new Bobcat compact track loader, which we hope to be able to do a lot of work with, especially in Poorhouse, but in all the parks. Let's see. At Randy Smith Center, I mentioned parking. We'd like to expand that parking lot. We'd like to update some cameras and add some to some of the areas that we don't have good coverage. At DuPont, I've asked for some funds to convert the existing concession building into a permanent public restroom facility. So we have the bones there for a permanent restroom. And we're not using that concession stand as Sheets popped up years ago and all the amenities in that area. People were less interested in buying concessions there on site. So that's kind of been a thing of the past. So right now we have a building that I believe for less than half the price of building a new structure, we could convert that to a public restroom. I think that would be money well spent. It would definitely serve our patrons well. Also, things to consider at DuPont. I had a camera up there because we had some vandalism problems. I put a camera up a couple months ago and was blown away by the foot traffic going through DuPont that aren't people going out to play soccer with the rec league, but just community people enjoying that space. There are walkers, there are joggers, and there are people with pets. Problem with the pets is they're trying to use our fields as the dog park, which isn't ideal. So we're trying to keep those locked outside of practice times, but the fact is the people are there, the pets are there, and they're looking for a place to be. So I would like you to consider addition of a small dog park on that property and possibly a walking trail similar to what we have at some other parks, just to give people a proper place to do the things they want to do. At Rooney Park, we're going to get the electric and finish that batting cage area, and we would like to put some funds into improving the trail behind Rooney Park. To grade it out, get rid of some obstacles, put in a fence or something to block some of the encroachment that we've had from neighbors on the edge of the property as people are starting to use that trail more and more. At Hoax Run, I mentioned we have $175,000 to go for construction. So we'd like some confidence from the county that we'll be able to recoup those funds at some point as we finish out that park. I know there's talks about an arrangement with the Battlefield Association. There may be some funds available there, but as we work to get this park completed, we'd like to know that those funds are going to be available. At Stonebridge, I mentioned a few things coming this year. We want to continue to take care of the parking area, mowing the grass, keeping the trash cleared up, and we'd like to put some money into some benches, trash cans, and trail work out there. All this is laid out in the documents that we sent you, and I'll go through the budget request. We did it a little bit different this year than it's been done, and we started with looking at the actual operating cost of each location. We thought that was the best way to show you where the funds go and which line item they fall into and what that total looks like. So if we look at this page, the summary page, our actual expenses for county parks for the last fiscal year were $1,318,805. Of those,
Say that again.
1,318,805. Those were the actual expenses. So we've taken that number, we've added a 7% increase, which came to just over $92,000. That's to allow for just the cost of everything we do rising. And we've added $112,000 for new operational cost. Those are highlighted in the spreadsheets to follow, but it comes from things like we weren't mowing Stonebridge, now we're going to. We've finished off a 2.5 acre area at DuPont that we weren't doing anything with before, now we need to mow it and take care of it. Areas where we didn't have trash cans before, now we do. That's where those funds come from, adding services that we did not have before. So if we take what we spent last year those additional costs and a 7% increase for everything going up, it takes us to just over $1.5 million. The funding we received from Berkeley County last year was $723,970. That was 50% of the hotel motel, which totaled $568,970, and an allocation of $155,000. So if we take what we are projecting for 26, that 1.5 million, and we subtract what we had last year, it leaves us $800,000 to make up. Now, the funds we were able to generate on county-owned property in the past year were $525,000. So that gets us a good bit closer, and it shortens that gap to $274,151.
I don't think we got that, Joe.
Yeah, page
Huh?
44.
I couldn't.
I want to go down to page 5.
Ours stopped at page 5, and that's, we didn't get that summary.
Page 44 is the library.
Yeah, so we didn't get that summary, that's what had us
Yeah,
confused a little bit.
Right.
Okay, well, this is definitely key. So,
Yeah, we just need,
we sent it.
can you leave copies with that,
We have
copies, so we can make copies of it,
it.
yeah. You think you got it? Yeah.
So Penny has it, I'm not sure.
It's on hers, it's not on ours.
Yeah.
We only have 5 pages.
Okay.
But
This is
anyway,
pretty key because
no, that's
it
what we need
breaks
that,
everything
yeah.
down to
That
an
does.
easy to understand level.
That's what we kept looking for.
The
We couldn't
other-
find it, so.
The spreadsheets by location spells it all out in greater detail.
Yeah.
But I think this is the important part to understand. So
Could you give us that number again of what you, like your special revenue, like what you generated?
we generated $525,000 in county properties. And that's through registrations, admissions, anything we charge money for. Barn rentals is a big piece of that. So those are the numbers we're looking at. What did we spend?
That included the Randy Smith Center?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were our actual costs last year? That was 1.3. What are we projecting to go up in the next year? Looking at a 7% increase across the board and 112,000 for adding new services that we didn't do in the past year. That brings us to the 1.5 number. From the 1.5 number, last year you gave us almost 725,000 through the 50% of hotel motel and 155,000 allocation. That left 800,000 to make up. We generate 525 of that. That leaves us short 274,000.
From what you were given last year.
So,
With the 7% increase.
right.
Mhm.
So our request this year is a continuation of 50% of the hotel motel, which we hope will stay close to that 568 or maybe grow would be even better.
So,
And an allocation of 429,151 to make up that difference. So that's the additional money that we're asking for this year. In addition to that, we're asking for a good bit of capital improvement funds, which I realize you have to look through that and make your best judgment on what things you would like to see done and what
is
we'll have
there,
to wait.
can you list those out with separate costs for each?
I did. It's in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they prioritized or are they just?
They're not prioritized. They're put in order, or they're put by location.
Okay.
Obviously, I think Hoax Run has to be at the top of that list because we're on it.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to talk about it more. I'd like you all to take a look at that and see what you feel would be most important to the community, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, Joe, we'd like to sit with you and just discuss
Yeah.
it one afternoon, a
Sure.
couple minutes.
And the other thing coming into play here now, hopefully by this next fiscal year, is the impact fees, okay?
Right.
And there's going to be money for Parks and Rec from impact fees, for sure.
And we're certainly looking forward to that. And I'll just say to this group that my only concern, and how could I have a concern when there's potential for more funds coming in? But my only concern is that's capital money that's very restricted. And for us, there has to be an operational side to that, or we cannot do much with the capital money. It's kind of like, if you're paying me $200 to mow grass a day, and then one day you say, congratulations, you got 200 more acres to mow. But if I'm still making $200 a day, my job just got a lot harder. It's good news that we have the more acreage, but it's a lot harder to take care of it.
Yeah, I think we understand that, and as we continue to grow with our parks, there'll need to be a budget prepared for each one of those for operating costs. We understand that. But what I'm hoping is that those impact fees, in which I'm a little bit frustrated that it didn't happen as soon as what we wished for. We were hoping to be able to include your impact fees in this year's budget, but the timing of that and being able to get everything accomplished just pushed it out. And it's no fault of ours or yours, but we know we cut you back last year because we were anticipating impact fee dollars. So this year moving forward, we're hoping those dollars can replace other dollars that you already spent, and you can convert those to operational funds. So I think we're going to be okay, Joe.
It's not going to be the answer to everything, but it's certainly going to help.
Yeah, I think it's a good story for sure, and we're looking forward to see how that goes, and anything we can do to help, we definitely want to move that forward. Only thing I didn't mention, it's part of that capital improvement money. I put it under Poorhouse Farm Park, but it doesn't necessarily land there, is a new maintenance truck. I've made the same request of the city. We've got 7 maintenance trucks all in all, and 4 of those are 2006 or 2007s. We'd like to replace 2 of those. So we've come to you asking for $60,000 towards a new truck, and we did the same thing for the city. And completely by coincidence, we had the transmission go out on one last week. So now we've got a choice. Do we spend $6,500 to put a transmission in a truck that's probably worth $3,000, or do we wait and see if we're going to replace it with something new? So that's just where we are with a few of these things, and I just want to make you aware of it.
Very good. Anybody else have any questions for Joe?
No, very good presentation. You said a lot of things that made me smile, Joe. There's a lot of good things happening in our parks, and truly, I'm committed to try to make our parks and our recreational areas as nice as they possibly can be.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Well, thanks very much.
Appreciate
And I don't want to, not say thank you for all the funding that we've had up till this point. We absolutely could not do it. You look at our budget and what our costs are, and we could absolutely not do it without the portion that we've gotten from the hotel motel and the allocations that you've been able to provide. So we appreciate it.
And thank you and your staff, Joe. You go into the parks now; they're nice. You go into facilities; are clean. All those things are important. They're important to the people that use them, and to us. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Thank
And
you all.
it's not that we don't want to give more money. It's because we have to find it first, and we're doing everything we can to find resources to find more funding. And believe me, we're working hard on that to make all this a reality. So, but thank you all. Thank you very much. You too, Buzz. Even though you were 20 minutes late.
I also should have said thank you to Teresa earlier.
He's been on the park board. You can tell by 40 years. You look at him and you can tell he's been on the round.
Man, with friends like Steve, Buzz, you don't need any enemies.
Teresa
He
put a whole
loves me. He loves me, John.
Teresa put a whole lot of time into this budget this season. I really appreciate it, and I think it's the way to go going forward because I think it helps you all understand where the money's going, and it helps us understand it better too. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Like how they divided down the county and the city separate this year.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is Gretchen Fry with the Berkeley County Public Library. Martinsburg, Berkeley County Public Library. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Welcome.
Great. So I'm with the Martinsburg Berkeley County Public Library. We have 4 libraries in the county. We have the Martinsburg Library, the North Berkeley Public Library, the Hedgesville Public Library, and the Musselman South Berkeley Community Library, which is located in the high school. This year, in addition to the $1,079,742 of funding provided to the library in accordance with state code, the library is requesting from the County Commission an additional $500,000 to help fund a $3.5 million HVAC replacement and asbestos abatement project For the Martinsburg Library. Sorry. In the packet that I gave you, under the funding for the HVAC and asbestos abatement project section, I outlined the costs of the project. As you can see, the initial project was $2.5 million. After the discovery of the asbestos in the Martinsburg Library, the project cost has jumped another $1 million. So the total is now $3.5 million. In terms of funding, we've actually been working on trying to fund this project for 4 years. So far, we've been successful in basically getting $400,000 in various sources of funding. We got $200,000 from the West Virginia Library Building Fund. We received LEDA funds this year of $70,000. We also got ARPA funds, $134,000, and GoFundMe. We actually started GoFundMe as well, and we got $2,710 from that. The remainder of the project, we got a loan for the remainder of the project, a $1.6 million building loan. So basically, if you look at the math there, our total, we basically are short $1.5 million. We're requesting $500,000 from the city, $500,000 from the county, and the library has a fund balance, and we're planning to take about $578,000 out of our fund balance to cover the rest of this. We have actually, in terms of trying to fund this project, I've actually asked for a congressional spending request I put in for 3 years in a row. As well as we actually had a professional grant writer work with us to try to, through Bolin to actually, and we applied for a number of grants as well for that. Part of what libraries in general across West Virginia are struggling with is there isn't really dedicated funding for library buildings. There used to be on the federal level, there used to be dedicated funding in the 60s, and a lot of libraries were built back in that time period. That funding is no longer available. They've actually converted that to technology funding. On the state level, there was a fund set up to fund libraries. They put $1 million in that fund. We got $200,000 of it, and that's all that fund has been funded. So libraries across West Virginia are really struggling with their buildings. Our library here, obviously, is from the 1960s. It was originally built. We've been working on, obviously, a lot of the systems are original in the building. We've been working on getting some assessments done on the property. Recently, it looks like it's going to probably be about $10 million just to do basic repairs to the building and get it up where it needs to be. So this is our first step in terms of working on the Martinsburg building, but we've got a ways to go. So do you have any questions for me about the project, the buildings?
What was that number you just said to bring the building up? Did you say $10 million?
Yes. Yeah.
And your ARPA funds, what was that number again?
$134,000.
That was $134,000.
Yes.
Rita was 70, $200,000 from the library fund,
Yes.
and there was a GoFundMe for 2710.
Correct.
Gretchen, you have to help me a little bit.
Yes.
There's a calculation that's already in place for us for like mandatory.
Correct.
Where
Thank
is,
goodness for you all.
yeah, where is that?
Yes.
Comes
So
in your state budget revision, Mr. Guggenheim. We do it annually.
Okay.
It's on that, I don't have that sheet.
Yeah, so that
go
will be
up a little
projected
bit more.
and established post the assessed values from the assessor on March 3rd. So I can tell
Going
you,
up a little bit each year.
it went up a couple $100,000 each year.
Yeah. So.
But we won't have that solid number until we get the numbers
March
from the assessor.
That's correct. It's a
Yeah.
complete guess until now.
Yeah.
But if you project that increase with what you've seen historically, I would suspect it to be somewhere around 7% over what it was last year. They were $1 million, Gretchen, $1 million.
yeah, right now we're at 1 million. Last year was 1,079,742.
So
How much revenue do you generate? How much revenue does the library generate itself from things that the library does?
We budget about $87,000 a year in library-generated revenue. Obviously, we also get donations and grants and things like that. There, it varies every year. I mean, part of it, the nature of a library is that we don't charge for our services, so we can't generate
You
funding.
generate that revenue for like passports and
Yes,
that?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do passports, we charge for copying, we charge for notary services, those kind of things. We charge, for lost books, things like of that nature.
That's all four combined, right? That figure?
Yes,
Yeah.
87,000.
Everything's one budget for all four.
Yes, correct. Yes, yes.
And those numbers will be down this year because of the Martinsburg location being closed.
That is possibly correct. However, we actually expanded our hours at our branch locations, and we have seen quite a bit of traffic moving from downtown to our branch locations. So we actually, each of our branches they were only operating part-time. So we actually increased their hours another 16 hours a week. So we have, so in terms of our circulation, so it was basically, the branches went from 28 hours to 44 hours a week. And we've actually seen over 1,000 more checkouts per branch in terms of books being circulated, as well as traffic and things like that. So,
One more question. Do you know how that huge library remodel in Charleston was funded?
my understanding was it took them over 20 years to do that funding. And they got quite a bit of money from various sources. I do know that their special law is written slightly different, and they do get a higher percentage than we do. So I think that's part of it.
Because that is a phenomenally large and beautiful.
Yeah, it is a beautiful
library.
Yes. But I do know part of it is that they're funding, they get about $40 a person in funding, and we get $16 a person in funding. So it's a huge discrepancy in terms of per capita funding between the Kanawha County Library system and our system.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that.
Imagine that.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions?
How much did the city give you guys last year?
How much did they give us last year?
Are they mandated by statute to do?
Yes, yeah.
And the Board of Ed?
The Board of Ed as well. And actually, let me give you this.
Board of Ed gave them $112,500.
This is just an overview of our funding, which includes a pie chart.
Oh, okay.
Page. I'll just get that to you. People are always asking about our funding, so it's the pie charts on the second page there.
Thank you.
And of the money we give, being the county, that's still property taxes out of the city included in that too, right, or no?
Say it again, sir?
The Berkeley County, the $1 million that we gave, that's property tax out of the city as well though, right?
That is
In
correct.
that calculation.
That is absolutely correct.
So some of that could be considered city money if we
It's
considered our
no
money.
different than the city residents or county residents also. Yes, sir, you're absolutely correct.
You good, Mr. Boyd?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's going to be our last scheduled presenter today for the items from the public. Hearing none?
We have to stay till 4.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, John.
Just getting ready to
All
gather
right,
out.
just gotta stay till 4.
That library project was 32 million in Charleston.
It's a beautiful library. They spent a bunch of money on it.
20,000 square foot, $32 million.
It is a fabulous building, man. Phew.
They need a library in Spring Mills because you just have that trailer out there. But I was hoping at some point we start to get that TIF money that we could use some of that for a library out there.
No, I'm gonna tell you something else too. The Civil War hoax runs right there.
Right, that's all
Come in
tied to the
behind,
same property.
What's his name's property and get to it. Maybe can make it a visitor center library thing.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Everybody's still
Oh, yeah. You need a motion to adjourn?
Not yet.
Let's stay
3
till
more
4.
minutes.
Oh,
We can break. 3 minutes.
Want to do that, Ken?
Break it.
Take a break.
We'll take a break. Let the record show that there's no items from the public, no persons present. I need a motion to recess.
Move that we recess.
We are in recess. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that, Mr. Barnhart. I mean, Hardy.